Hello, so today we're going to look at the Huey in all its various forms. You get 3 models with it. Comes from Tag's Hanger, so you get a military model and then 2 civilian models. We're going to start off with the military model. We'll do a cold start with it, and then we'll switch over and show you some of the firefighting capabilities in the civilian models. Main reason I've decided to revisit the Huey is because they've updated it so you can now show the guns. Because previously Microsoft wouldn't let you have the guns on, and that just didn't look right. But they've updated it now so that you can have machine gunners on the side. So, got to obviously have the death from above, airborne cav, and starting Veitnam. We'll just have a quick fly around once we've got it cold side, and then we'll show you some of the other functions. As you can see, the outside is pretty tidy. It's not a study level, it's not high fidelity or anything like that, but it's a fairly cheap helicopter and it handles really nicely. It's a lot of fun and you get loads with it. So it's not up to like the Black Hawk or the Chinook that come from Miltech, but it doesn't cost anywhere near as much, and yes, it is a lot of fun. It's difficult as well, which I'll explain once we get going. But it's a lot of fun. So just show you the liveries that you get with it. Yeah, you get, first of all, you get 3 variants. So you get the 2 civilian variants, these 2, followed by the military variant there. So if we start with the military variant, go on to the liveries, and these are the ones that come with it. I haven't added any on to these. You can download loads and loads more from Flight Sim 2.2, sorry. But these are just the ones. As you can see, you get loads with it. But then if you fancy, you can get yourself more. Some fictional, some real. Go on the other 2. First civilian one. NASA one there. I quite fancy getting myself the white, because NASA has a white and blue one. So I quite fancy getting that. A few law enforcement ones. She's got a sheriff there, another sheriff, New York State Police, and then excuse me, sorry. This is the high skid civilian variant, so you see the skids are much higher. So you like your news broadcasters and a few law enforcement again. So you get a lot with it. NASA high skids as well. Okay, so this is your cockpit. There are, like I said, there's loads of variations. So depending on which model you put in, like if you put the medical one on, for example, it looks completely different. The civilian one looks different. With the firefighting ones, you have an extra bit here to monitor your water tank. But we'll show you those when we come to them. The main difference with the military one is the friend or foe radio systems down there on the left, which you'll notice are missing in the civilian ones. So most of your controls, gauges are in front of you. You've got a lot of controls in the center pedestal, and then above you, quite a few as well. Majority of the breakers are at the top there as well. There are a few tucked down there, but you don't need to worry about those ones too much. Everything works inside, as in you can open up the doors. You can have the cabin laid out how you want. I've got troops in this one, and the crew chief there hanging out the side. You can open and close the back doors if you want them open and closed. You can change that for a medical one and have stretchers. You can have it empty, whatever you want. Instead of a tablet, you get this. You get a clipboard. Just raising my seat a little bit. And on the clipboard, it's got your interior options. Shaking. So if you have the shaking on, it is an old aircraft. It's quite rickety. Once it gets going, it will shake. You can adjust the level of shaking with this gauge down here. Just turn it left or right. I find about 40% is about right for me. If you want a tablet in there, you can pop a GPS in there. Modern avionics and stuff. We don't want any of that. This one's an interesting one. So if you turn this on, you get your crew inside, which looks great, but when you're using head tracking, it doesn't take much. If I just try and do it now, I'm probably not going to be able to do it now, but you can often put yourself inside the pilot and you'll see his back of his eyeballs, so it can get in the way a little bit, so I tend to have it off. You'll still see them from the outside, and as you can see, it doesn't quite line up with this stick, which is a bit irritating, so I tend just to have them turned off. You'll still see them in your photographs on the outside. This is where you change the cabin. Armour plates, I'll just turn them on quickly so you can have this extra armour. We don't need that, so we're going to turn that off. And I would always disable VRS, vertical rotation simulation, I think, something like that. It's basically where the helicopter can get into an uncontrollable spin when it loses lift, and it's a nightmare. It's just easier having that turned off, otherwise you'll crash a lot more than you would otherwise. Next page is where you can turn on all the antennas, should you want the antennas on. Surfboards from the film, let me pop them back on. There you go, look, some surfboards. Charlie Don't Surf, from those who remember Apocalypse Now, which are cool, but we want the guns on, so side mounted. This is the one for the guns. Side armament mounts, pop them on there. Here's where you can take the doors off, should you not want the doors. You can hide the crew if you don't want to be able to see the crew from the outside, if you want to take photographs without the crew. Don't know why you would ever want to hide the rotor wash and hide the heat blur. Bit odd, but if you did, that's how you can do it. You can lift up the engine bays. I'll just do that and then pop outside. You can see it all inside there, if that floats your boat. It's not meticulously detailed, but it's nice that they've still given you the option that you can have a look. Have it on the ground, look like it's doing some maintenance. It's a nice effort. So if we turn these off, you just click at the top to make the tablet go back down. That's the inside. It's not bad. It's as I said, it's not an expensive helicopter, so pretty much everything works. I haven't tried any of the navigation stuff, although it looks like it does work. And you've got where is it? Yeah, you have got radios down here, so it might be something I play with and see if we can get the navigation working. The compass obviously works. You can change the heading bug. There is no autopilot on it, as per the real one. There was no autopilot. You can change the compass orientation, so it might be that you can do a bit of nav with it. We're just going to be taking it for a joy flight today, so we don't need any. And you can take the decoration off if you don't want it, but I think it's very Vietnam-esque. So, but that's your inside. Right, let's get it cold started then. So for the cold start, we are going to follow the checklist meticulously, because like with most helicopters, if you miss something, you're going to pay for it. You're either going to not take off or going to drop out of the sky, so you're better off not missing anything. So I've turned the head tracking off just for the start because it makes it a little bit easier. First thing we're going to do on the checklist is come to the overhead panel and check the breakers are all in. I'll zoom out a little bit there. We'll just run across from top to bottom. All breakers are in, good. So, and we can stay on the top panel. Dome light as required for number 2. We'll put ours to white. Pitot heat check off, check. Anti-collision light on, check. Position lights as required. We'll go for steady and dim. MVG position lights as required. We're going to have them off because we're flying during the day. Cargo roll switch check off, or cargo release check off, yes. Wipers check off, yes. Cabin heat off, yes. instrument lighting as required. Over to the pilot's panel for that. That's these ones. It's a fairly, as checklists go, it's quite, keeps you in order rather than bouncing about the cockpit mostly, which is quite good. AC power selector set to AC, check. Inverter switch set off, check. Main generator on and covered, check. DC power voltmeter ESS bus. Oh, just turn it on to non-ESS. ESS bus. It's a bit annoying when you go over it, it turns blue so you can't see the writing, but that is right, ESS bus. Non-ESS bus switch set to normal. Sorry, normal on. So you got normal on at the bottom, manual on at the top. It wants to be on normal on. And then battery switch on. So straight away you'll hear the low RPM audio alarm. So come into the center panel, and that's this switch here. Flicked it off, and that kills the alarm. Next, we're going to test our fire warning indicator. So you just push this button, you see it comes up with fire, goes off again as soon as you let go. And then fuel gauge test. So this is your fuel gauge, it's reading at 100%. Push that, it'll drop it all the way to 0, let it go. Back to where we are at 100. So if it came to anything different, you'd get the ground crew out and you wouldn't take off for the aircraft because you couldn't trust it, but that obviously works. So next is instrument check, and we're checking the engine and transmission systems for any sign of static, any slippage marks, or any ranges. So if they're stuck on something, like for example fuel pressure, it should be reading as 0 at the minute. If it was stuck around here, again, we'd not take the aircraft out, so they all should be set down at 0, which they are. There's no sign that any of them are damaged. The only one that's on is the DC volts, because obviously we just turned the battery on. Good, they all look good. So next, governor switch. Come to the center console again. Governor switch is this one, switch it to auto, check. De-ice off, check. Main fuel on. Auxiliary fuel, left and right, off. Caution lights, check. So this is your caution lights panel, and then to test them, it's this one here. It can be a little bit difficult to get it to go the right way. If it'll ever do it. There we go. They should all light up, release, and they should all go off. Just push forward to reset. Hydraulics on. Force trim on. Chip detector set to both. That's this one, and you want it in the middle. Forward is the main rotor, back is the tail rotor. We want it set to both. Controls check. So if we just come up to the center, zoom out a little bit, just check that everything moves as it should. Lovely. And check altimeter. Oops. There we go. So your altimeter's over here. I don't know what the Q&H is for here, so I'm just going to hit B and it will set it automatically for me. So it was set. Perfect. You've got a secondary one over here for the co-pilot. Yeah, it's just those. Yeah, just those two. So as you can see, majority of the gauges are either pilot or central. Co-pilot does have a few over here so that he can fly the aircraft if he needs to. So that is everything for pre-flight checks. We're now ready to get started. So just adjust my position a little bit. That's a set for engine start. So we would, if we had some ground crew, we'd post them out, what they're called fire guard, so they'll let us know as we're starting should they see any smoke or fire. We haven't got any, so we'll just have to make do. First thing we're going to do is open the door. Co-pilot will do the same, purely because we can't wind down the window, otherwise we'd wind down the window and shout clear blades. Exactly the same as what you do if you're in a prop aircraft, where you shout clear prop. It's just to warn everyone that the blades are about to start spinning, so get the fuck out of the way, basically. So this is your throttle here. You want to set it initially to 25%, which is one turn. Should just about do it. There we go. If you haven't flown it before, it might be easy just to turn on tooltips, because it will actually give you a percentage readout as you're turning it. It is really temperamental. You get the percentage throttle wrong on this, and it's going to drop you out of the sky like an absolute nightmare. Essentially, it doesn't like being at full throttle. It gets really upset if you yank the throttle too much. Everything's got to be done nice and gently with the Huey. So to actually get us started, we come down here, just zoom out a little bit, and I need to traverse so you can see the switch, tiny little switch just underneath here, and you're basically going to hold that and then watch this gauge here. You're going to hold it for either 40 seconds or until it reaches 40 on this gauge, whichever comes sooner. I find it generally is about the same, but let's get us started. You see the blades are slowly starting to turn. So if you hit that switch and nothing happens, likelihood is you've missed something on the checklist. Likelihood is it's going to be the fuel. You've probably not turned on the main fuel pump, or potentially not taken the throttle out of idle, just moved it to that 25%. This is why it's so important to follow the checklist on an aircraft like this. You can skip it, you can skip bits out on a lot of them, but not old helicopters like this. You've got to follow them. It's just coming up on 40 now. That's 40. So next thing we're going to do is slowly advance the throttle, and we'll watch on this gauge here. We're bringing this needle around so it gets into the green, but we don't want to over torque the engine, so it's nice and steady. As I twist it, gentle little motions, you'll see that needle starting to move. And what we're basically doing is getting that RPM up until we are past the low RPM limit. Low RPM limit's gone out. And you see the low RPM alarm has flicked back on, so if we suddenly lose RPM, that will start going off again, the beeping that we heard at the beginning. And then we'll just slowly continue to advance the throttle. And that's at 100%, so now bring it back again. You never want it at 100%. Good. Next, come to the overhead panel. Inverter to on main, so away from you towards the front of the aircraft. Next, check oil pressures. Good. So in the green for the main oil pressure, and then secondary oil pressure again, bang in the green. Oil temperatures are good. You see the little red mark, we don't want to be going above the red mark. They're both good. We've now got power, so we're producing our own power, not just running off the battery anymore. Next, that's the start done. Now onto the engine run up. So for the engine run up, first thing we're going to do is the avionics. We're going to turn the IFF on, switch it to A, and master to standby. You see the IFF has gone out. IFF is just a friend or foe system. It lets radar systems know that we are friendly, don't shoot us down. And next, overhead panel. Start a generator to standby gen. Next, back down and check. Fuel hasn't changed. Oh, we've got a master caution. No, we haven't. Oh, interesting. Let's reset that. Interesting. We'll have to watch that. So the master caution light was on up there, but there was nothing on our warning panel. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. Once that comes up, once you get master caution on there, it should tell you on here what the problem is, so you can try and fix it before you drop out of the sky. Okay, so running through all the things we've got to check. Fuel, yes, we've got sufficient fuel. It hasn't suddenly dropped down. Engine, yep, engine's in the green. Torque pressure's no issue whatsoever at the moment. RPM percentage is between 70 and 80, which is ideal. And temperature is in the green, so engine is good. And volts, I've got the list here. Get the position. So we're looking at AC between 112 and 118. Yeah, that looks about right there. There's 100, there's 150, so that looks right to me. And DC between 27 and 28. Again, that looks spot on. Excellent. And that is us ready for our takeoff now. All checks complete. So we'll get the head tracking turned back on, and we'll take it for a little flight, see how it gets on. Okay, then let's get her off the ground. Last check left and right, make sure we're clear, and then gently bring the collective up. Into the hover, and we'll taxi yourself out to the runway. Little hover taxi. And once we're lined up, we are clear for takeoff from the runway. Does require quite a lot of pedal input to keep us straight, or you can just crab, so you can just let the pedals go and you sort of go at an angle. So it depends if you want that straightness or not. You can forgive it being a little bit temperamental because it's a lot of fun to throw around. That does sound great as well. I did try flying one of these up to the top of Everest. That didn't go very well. I mean, to be fair, actually, we got quite close. We got on the final little leg up to the summit, and then the engine just couldn't take it anymore. There just wasn't enough oxygen up there for it, and down we went. We had to do an emergency descent through the pass. Probably wrote off that aircraft, but we got it down. We didn't crash. That's the main thing. Yeah, I think once you get used to the RPM limits, keeping your eye on that throttle, not being too violent on changes of throttle, it's not bad at all to fly. Not bad at all. Everyone's still alright in the back. A few people losing their lunch, I reckon. See if we can't find the airfield. Hopefully that's it, just in front of us. Yeah, there you go, look. Not bad navigation if I don't say so myself. So we'll do a quick flyover and choose our landing site. And if we put it down there somewhere, or try, let's just have a quick look at that triangle bit. So this is an add-on base from Flight Sim 2. See, that doesn't look the same, so I'm guessing that is, Yeah, that's the old American base. I imagine that they are minefields all around it. I don't think there's space to land within the wire, is there? No, we'll land on the airfield. Otherwise we're going to take the roof off some of those huts. So we'll get ourselves lined up with a runway, start to lose some speed and some altitude. And now. Nose up, throttle back. Oh, click it back on. Kill off that speed. 40 knots. 30 knots. Altitude's now naturally starting to come down. Just try and reduce it a little bit quicker. Down at just under 2,000 feet per minute. Ground crew's just appeared in front of us. I don't think they're very happy with where we've landed, but we've got a master caution come on, chip detection. So we're probably pushing it a little bit too hard towards the end there. But there we go, that is a quick throw around in the Huey. It's a lot of fun to fly. I probably need a little bit more practice in making the landing smooth, but I don't think we did any damage coming down there. We just landed in the wrong place for where they wanted us. But yeah, it's quite a lot of fun to fly that. Okay, I'll flick the head tracking off to do the shutdown procedure. First thing we do is put the throttle to idle. I'll make sure I'm twisting this the right way now. That's it. The RPM limits come on. Good. Check force trim is still on, which it is. Yep. Pitot heat switch off we didn't turn on, so we don't need to worry about that. But if you did, it's here. We're in Vietnam, we don't need it. Inverter to off. Main generator switch to off. Bit fiddly. Let's reset. We don't want it on reset, we want it off. There we go, off. Start switch back to start. Throttle fully closed. Yep. Main fuel switch off. IFF off. And then check overhead switches are all off. So we're checking the inverters off. Yup. Pitot heat. Yup. Lights. Yep. And yep. And we didn't turn any internal lights on. Wipers still off. We haven't used them. Cargo release off. Cabin heat, didn't use that, so it's still off. And then finally we turn the battery off. And this here is your rotor brake, so let's see if I can get in a better position. You can obviously keybind that if you want to keybind it, but that will slow the rotor down. Even with the rotor brake, it does take a little while. Good, and release. And that is us fully shut down, ready to hand over to the ground crew. Okay then, so we're going to show you the firefighting capabilities. I'll pop outside for a second. As you can see, we've chosen one of the civilian models. We're currently in San Francisco. If I look over the top, you see Golden Gate Bridge over there, and that's Alcatraz. And this is, I think, the USS Independence, maybe? Anyway, it's a US destroyer that's in the Bay of San Francisco. We're going to say that we're a San Francisco fire unit that's been asked to come out and assist because they've got a fire on board that they can't control. So as you can see, we've got the water tank attached to the bottom. To put that on, you simply put up the clipboard, select either water tank or a Bambi bucket. Bambi bucket's the easy one. We'll do the water tank first, do the hard one first, get it out of the way. Let me just check VRS. Yeah, just vortex simulation, that's what it is. There we go. Done. And you need to hotkey two keys, and that's your toggle lights and toggle landing lights and toggle logo lights, and that will control your water pipe and the release of the water. One other thing, reduce your fuel to below 30%, otherwise you won't be able to hold enough water to do anything. So we'll just get off the deck. The only reason we put it on the deck was just to make life a little bit easier while I explain those bits. For our scenario today, we've flown in from San Francisco. Oh, and then I'll release my cable. And very gently, a little bit windy, very gently, we'll just lower it into the water. This is really tricky. Further away from this destroyer. The thing that makes it really hard is as soon as you start taking on water, your weight. Let's get further away from the destroyer first. We've come to help them. We're going to end up crashing into them. There we go. So as soon as you start taking on water, your weight increases so rapidly. Fly nice and gently into the water. Pop inside. You see the green lights come on. That indicates that we are collecting water. Oh, if we let the nozzle come out though, you have to be so low, uncomfortably low. Any pilot's going to be happy hovering at this altitude over water. Let's see, we've got some, about 25%. We're really, really close to that water. See the vapour coming up. The water effects aren't very good on 2020. They're better on 2024, but that'll do. Excuse me. Sorry, I waited for the mic to cough. Okay, let's head back. Hopefully I haven't got too far away. No, lovely. So to deploy our water, we'll get ourselves lined up. We'll use our hotkey. Hopefully we won't miss the target. Got quite a bit of water. I want to be a lot lower than this though. Over the deck, so we'll release there. And hopefully that's their fire out. California Fire and Rescue saves the day for the US Navy. So that is the main water tank. Your other option is the Bambi bucket. Okay then, so we'll switch over to the Bambi bucket. Bambi bucket's on. If I flick outside, you can see there it is. All we got to do is ease it down into the water. It's much easier, much longer than the hose for the main water tank. Just make sure we don't come down too quickly. Hold that underneath for a second. Yeah, feel the weight bit catching, and you see it's full of water. Oof. That does make such a difference in the handling. I modelled that very well. So just got to reset our controls. Until we get smooth flight again. we go. So same button to release. Ourselves lined up. I've turned the wind up a little bit to make the sea look a bit nicer. It's obviously not going to make the flying easier, but that's lined up nicely. Release off the corner of the deck there. It's still going because we've got quite a lot of water in it, but we've done what we wanted to do. So if I come back inside, reach over and turn off the Bambi bucket, that should hopefully have. Yep, that's disappeared. So that is how you do firefighting in the Huey with both the water tank and the Bambi bucket. Bambi bucket is a lot easier, massively easier. It's quite a lot of fun filling that water tank, hard as it is. It's a bit of fun. So that's the Huey. Overall, I like it. It's difficult. It's much more of a challenge than the Chinook and the Black Hawk. I mean, in comparison, they are. Chinook's probably similar, like age and equipment on board on it, as in the avionics systems, very similar, but that is like flying a bus, whereas this is like flying a race car that has ADHD and is drunk. It's a busy aircraft, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. As you can see there, that's lovely and smooth, cruising along at 80 knots, heading straight towards Alcatraz. Yeah, once you get the hang of it, it's fun. Just don't expect to master it in your first flight, because she'll bite you. And keep your throttle low, or as low as you can. Don't spike it. As soon as you do that, you blow the engine out, and then you have fun doing an emergency landing, which I've had to do several of in it. There's Alcatraz. But all in all, you get a lot for your money. It's not an expensive one. There's a lot to do with it, a lot of variations with it, and it's hours and hours of entertainment, I think. So that is the Huey. Hope you enjoyed it.